With 1 million copies sold across PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC, Digimon Story Time Stranger is now coming to Switch 2. Something that I have insisted since the very start was going to happen, just not at launch due to various reasons. Very glad to have been right on that one, but what I was incredibly wrong about was the likelihood of it coming to Nintendo Switch 1, which it also is. My assumption was if this game wasn't going to be on PS4, they didn't see any validity on putting it on Switch 1 either. Switch 2 was an absolute no-brainer, just I think because of dev kits not happening at launch, but Switch 1 is incredibly surprising and a fantastic thing for the future of this game and Digimon games in general. So join me for a breakdown on this Digimon Story Time Stranger on the Nintendo Switch Family News Breakdown, and also a bunch of other stuff we learned in its wake, including a really positive update for console players of Time Stranger 2. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX, and I love when I'm right, and you know what? I even love it when I'm wrong. Yes, during the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, which I did react to if you want to go check out the VOD, Bandai Namco announced that Digimon Story Time Stranger will be coming to Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch 1 on July 10th, 2026, or July 9th in Japan. Time zone weirdness. A great trailer illustrating the 1 million copies sold and what's going on in the story if you weren't already familiar, if this is your first time playing it. And I think that 1 million copies sold thing really indicates, yeah, this is a game they're proud of, but also now the game is coming to Switch 1 and Switch 2, they're confident they're going to get so many more sales. The positive press for this game has reignited in the wake of this announcement. I have seen tons of people say now is the time to play. If you've been waiting, now is time to play this game. It is amazing, and if it's on Switch 1 and Switch 2, get it. Personally, I don't actually have a ton of motivation to get the Switch 1 or 2 version. I mean, I own a Switch 1 and a Switch 2, but I've been playing it on my PC and my Steam Deck where it's been running at 60 FPS. Not consistently 60 FPS on the Steam Deck, but still. However, for the franchise and for Digimon fans, this is insanely good. But what can you expect from the Switch and Switch 2 versions? Well, as revealed in the trailer, the Switch 2 version will have a performance mode that unlocks up to 60 FPS in 1080p. Very worth noting there that it says up to 60 FPS. There are going to be points of the game where the frame rate drops. I'm thinking specifically Central Town, where you do see frame rate drops even on the Steam Deck version. But there is also a quality mode that supports 4K and HDR at 30 FPS if you prefer that. This is great news, and the Bandai Namco US socials, plus a bunch of others, clarified that this quality mode and performance mode features that come in the Nintendo Switch 2 version are also going to be implemented in the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X versions, with details announced at a later date, so please wait a little longer. I would assume bare minimum we're going to see that update roll out in July along with the Switch 2 version. However, it's possible we get this earlier. And I know, yeah, it's a little late. This could have happened at launch, but it's very clear they listened to the fan base and worked on optimizing the game. My opinion is the game just wasn't very well optimized for anything besides PC. The development was ostensibly development hell, or at least a little bit of development weirdness, with Habu leaving, Hara coming on board. I think it's quite likely they just wanted to get the game out, and so some corners were cut with optimization, but now they've had time to try and port it not just to Switch 2, but Switch 1, definitely learning a lot of lessons about optimization for the game, and that then has had a knock-on effect for PS5 and Xbox Series X. Yeah, it's a little bit too late if you've already beaten the game on those platforms, but it is a good change, and it is proving they're listening to the fan base. Pre-orders are open on the Bandai Namco US sites, but on the UK site, I'm still not seeing pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 versions. But pre-orders for both are available on Amazon UK, and for some baffling reason, the Switch 1 version is $59.99, and the Switch 2 version is $69.99 on Amazon in the UK. This makes absolutely zero sense when you consider something that I'm going to talk about in a minute. The Bandai Namco website does have it for $60 for the base game, the Switch version or the Switch 2 version. However, if we look at the listing for the Switch 2 version, we do see game key card. This is something that really divides players on game preservation and things like that. I'm really baffled why they chose to go game key card for the Switch 2 version. Just as a heads up, currently you cannot buy the Ultimate Edition or Collector's Edition on Switch or Switch 2. Only the Standard Edition is available physically on the website, but they did say in the Direct and their subsequent posts that if you buy the Nintendo Switch 1 version and put it into your Nintendo Switch 2, there will be free update data with graphics that will improve to the equivalent of the Nintendo Switch 2 version after downloading the update data, with performance mode and quality mode unlocked on the Switch 2. But then if you put your cartridge back into your Switch 1, those modes will be unavailable. Meaning really, if you're someone that cares about this whole game keycard thing, your best bet is going to be buying the Nintendo Switch 1 version of this game and putting it in physically into your Switch 2. You'll get basically all the benefits and none of the downsides potentially, besides maybe load times being increased if you're using the Switch 1 cartridge. There was actually a further breakdown of how you can expect this game to run on Switch 2 docked versus handheld, with quality mode being 4K docked and 1080 handheld, and performance mode being 1080 in both modes. HDR, of course, will only be available on quality mode, and then if we're looking at the Switch 1, it's going to be 1080p docked and 720p handheld with a 30 FPS cap again. And regardless of which version you buy, it's going to be about 12 gig in size. So it's not going to take up a ton of space on your internal or external storage. Something else of note is that the Japanese version of the game, the day before it launches, will get English audio added as an option, and more subtitle options. The PS5 version will also get this update, but only have English subtitles added, which is interesting because currently, only in Japan, they are reissuing the Collector's Edition physical edition for Switch and Switch 2. It seems right now they're not reissuing it in North America, the UK, Europe, anywhere else, but if the Switch version is going to get English audio and English subtitles added, if you can find somewhere like an import site that is selling this Switch version and you want to get the Switch version anyway, you should just be able to play it in English and get all of the cool Japanese pre-order bonuses. Like, for example, the English version of the Collector's Edition didn't include the USB and a couple of other things that are in the Japanese version. So yeah, it looks like we're not getting a reissue of the Collector's Edition just yet, but if you really want to import it, it might not actually be that much more expensive, and you'll get a bunch of stuff, and there'll be English audio and subtitle options. They also highlighted that you can get the DLC, of course, if you buy basically all of the same editions that we saw from the original release. You can watch my video talking all about the DLC for Time Stranger if you want to see a breakdown of this, but in brief, we have things like the Bond evolutions for Agumon and Gabumon, Cyber Sleuth costumes, Digimon Adventure costumes, agent costumes from the game, all of the costume missions giving you a bonus mission. There's also the Golden Moai for the Digifarm, which as far as we can tell does absolutely nothing, and that season pass for all 3 episodes of the current DLC. They did reiterate in the trailer that the DLC will again be distributed by September 30th this year. However, it's pretty likely we're going to see the DLC in the next month or so, with the Switch version launching with all 3 episodes. I was briefly worried that maybe they were going to delay DLC 3 until the Switch version launches, but that just seems really short-sighted, and actually makes me kind of hopeful that we are going to get another wave of DLC in future that I hope they fix and change things on. To reassure everyone, whether you buy the physical version or import the Collector's Edition, there is no downloadable content exclusive to physical or to digital. And if we look at the PC, Xbox, PS5 version, even if you don't want to buy an edition that includes a bunch of stuff for cheaper, basically every single bit of DLC is obtainable on the e-stores. Whether it's the Black Agumon and Black Gabumon pre-order bonus, you can just buy those separately, the Bond evolutions, the costume packs. The only one that seems to not be buyable is the Cyber Sleuth pack, so if you really care about that mission and the Cyber Sleuth costumes, try and get a digital or physical edition of some variety. I would probably recommend, honestly, just pre-ordering the basic bundle when it becomes available digitally. In fact, if we go to the Nintendo website and look at Time Stranger, they do have digital regular, digital deluxe, and digital ultimate edition all for pre-order here. $60, $90, $110. And if we view the DLC, we can actually see all of them available here, including the Cyber Sleuth costumes. Moai, Cyber Sleuth, Swimming, Adventure, Digimon costume set, Public Safety set, Cyber Sleuth background music, the early unlock for the Ultimate Edition, and the currently 2 waves of DLC, with the 3rd one coming up soon. So all being well, you should be able to get all of these, but again, to ensure that, and probably for cheaper, it would be better to get a digital deluxe or digital ultimate edition. As you can see here, the digital deluxe edition includes Time Stranger, the Moai, the Season Pass, and the Cyber Sleuth set, with the digital ultimate edition adding all of the costumes, the Cyber Sleuth BGM pack, and the early unlock Agumon Bond and Gabumon Bond. At the same time as all of this, we also got a brief summary of the upcoming BT26, which is also going to focus on Digimon Story Time Stranger, including the Olympus 12 getting new jewel cards, which we saw revealed recently, this Shine Greymon with a kind of option attached. It's an option and a Digimon. I think it'll be cool to see which weapons, key items, etc. are used in addition to the Olympus 12 as a jewel card, and we're going to get cards for the Giant Slayer and Chronomon Destroy mode, which is incredible. This again indicates, if this is coming out later this year, that Time Stranger is still relevant, right? It's coming out on Switch 1 and Switch 2. We've got DLC Wave 3. Digimon Con is in March. Obviously, we have Digimon Elysian coming out this year, but that's a completely different department. It really wouldn't surprise me if we do get another wave of DLC announced. Tekken 8 just got one announced too. Now, yeah, sure, it's probably one of the last things that Harada oversaw, but Tekken is doing a new season with 4 new characters, some of which have been really highly requested, like Roger Jr. and Kunimitsu, and some of them have been, well, Tekken fans are traumatized by Bob, but they even in that trailer acknowledged things the fans wanted to see. Bandai Namco is listening, which to me indicates they're probably going to be listening for Time Stranger 2 and people wanting more Time Stranger. The game has sold 1 million copies plus God knows what else in DLC. It just makes sense to keep milking that cow, you know? And if it's going to be a year, 2 years, 3 years or more until the next story game, I really do think another wave of DLC is quite likely, but not confirmed at this stage. And who knows, maybe they'll also do a thing like they did with Tekken, acknowledging the problems with previous updates in Digimon Story Time Stranger and do quality of life fixes too. They've already done some, but it would be incredible with a second wave of DLC to see them add the changes that people have requested to things like the Digifarm, being able to actually evolve and see your evolution requirements in the farm, among other things. Regardless though, the future is absolutely bright for Digimon Story Time Stranger and Digimon as a whole. I said it on my stream, but I'm going to play it here. We have definitely Elysian, right? Definitely Elysian. 100% coming out this year. Time Stranger Switch 2, Switch 1. Time Stranger DLC Episode 3. New TCG set. Beat Break continuing until like at least September. That's just things we know are happening. If that's it, we won for the year. Even if there's no more DLC, we at least have another DLC. Then we have anything else that could be announced this year. More VPET stuff. Any other collabs. Extra DLC. Next year is the 30th anniversary of Digital Monster. So we know something's gonna happen next year too. There is so much to look forward to this year, and this game coming out not just on Switch 2, but Switch 1 too. So happy to eat crow on that one. Means that so many more people are going to have access to this game, are going to check out Digimon Story Time Stranger and then go, oh, that game was great, and then see that the Switch and Switch 2 are already replete with a bunch of other Digimon games to check out. Cyber Sleuth Complete Edition, Survive, World Next Order. The idea that Nintendo didn't want Digimon on their platform because of some jealousy over Pokemon is now completely proven to be ridiculous, and it's only going to benefit Digimon going forward. Digimon has now been prominently at State of Plays and a Nintendo Direct in the last year, and the Nintendo accounts are actively talking about Digimon on Twitter, YouTube, etc., which they've only done a handful of times previously. We're so back. Oh, and Bandai Namco pinned me saying that on their YouTube video. Thank you to my sovereigns, ZDK14, Chaotic Prophet, Lupus Lichlord, and Jeremy Babino for being my sovereigns over on patreon.com/Karn EX, and everyone else who supports me there too, plus my YouTube channel members here on YouTube. You guys are amazing, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye-bye.